All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good beautiful morning. Good beautiful morning. Jeez. Let's see here. Facebook, what's happening? Facebook, what's happening? You see what the day is. Faith-based Friday. Mr. Pastor Craig Rochelle gave a unbelievable message, as he always does, man. And we're gonna dive into it. We're still in the series, this series of love stories. So he's been talking about dating and marriages and all that. We'll dive into it in a second. But so he's been talking about dating and marriage. But he gave a story about how he met his current wife, Amy, and all that. So it's been fun tuning in to Pastor Craig Groeschel's story and the way what I'm learning in regards to being a public speaker and the things that I pick up from him and telling relatable stories and all of these things. So much of it, I'm just like a sponge a lot of times, especially just being in there, learning how to tell stories, learning a lot of ways of relating to audience and stuff like that, to where I say it all the time. It's either getting better, you're getting worse every single day. And whenever I hear pastor or any public speaker, anyone that has done that job or is in that role for a specific amount of time, for a good amount of time, I'm always learning something from them. So before I get into it, let me just introduce myself to anybody that may be new to me or new to this world or new to my business and what I'm all about. First and foremost, my name, it's Aswan Crookshank. I am your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, former Division I college football player, and current 5-time published author and educator, soon to be 6-time published author and educator. What I do, what I created, what the whole business, the whole Move Swiftly business is all about taking the innovative teamwork lessons that you learn on the football field and aligning them with businesses and business owners so they have a group of employees and a staff that moves as efficiently and as cohesively as a championship youth or high school football team. So be sure, if you're interested in any of that stuff, if that stuff sounds like you, if you want employee development, just head over to freeguide.makeyourmove.com. I created a 10-step process in which you can utilize right now to make your business a lot more, at least start to begin the process. If you're tired of turnover, tired of constantly replacing employees and all that, just go to freeguide.makeyourmove.com and, get in touch with me, and I'll give you all your options on how we can move forward and stuff like that. So one of the facets of what I do, one of the really, not the most important part of what I do, is my faith in God, the understanding of and the blessings that I've been given, the blessings that I have had in my life. I can't explain it. I think that it's important that I'm always honoring what God has created for me, given my situation and given the people that have come in and out of my life. So I've decided to dedicate Fridays towards the message that I received or the message that I took in this past Sunday. There's a couple things it does for me personally. It makes me re-listen to the message. I go to Life Church. If you don't know, I regularly attend. I pay my tithes at Life Church. It forces me to re-listen to it. Sunday mornings could be a lot of things can happen from a Sunday morning all the way to a Friday. So it gives me an opportunity to re-listen to the word and kind of get myself right. And also it creates the timing of it. I think in many ways that it's important that you hear God talk all the time, hear God's word talk all the time. Prayer is really just a conversation with God. And when you're able to re-listen or hear the word on a Friday morning, it can keep you from doing things that may not be of God that weekend as you head into it. And it has, it's been helping me. I've been doing it for a couple of weeks now, and I've really, really enjoyed it. So today we're going to dive into, I'm going to let him go in a second, but he was really talking about the dating phase. He starts off the sermon by explaining to people or explaining how dating has changed. There's these things called cell phones and devices, and the whole dating world has changed. Phones aren't necessarily just used for calling; they're used for texting. They use social media. Did you block this one? Did you keep this one? There's all sorts of facets when it comes to dating. So he talks about the importance of staying very focused on God, and to making sure that there's a value placed in there, and understanding what your values are. And as you develop your values, that should be the thing that's drawing you closer to a person. So let me let him do his thing, and I'm going to get a sip of water because, as you can see, I need one. So I'm gonna let him go.
That dating used to be way more simple in the old days than it is today. Raise your hand if you agree. Raise your hand. Online, you can type in the comment section, I agree. It used to be way, way, way more easy. Like back in the day when Amy and I were dating, back in the Saved by the Bell days, in the old days, it was really, really easy. For example, what I had to do to marry her is I actually called her on the phone. Back then, phones were used for talking, and we would actually call someone, and I called her, and I asked her out on a date, and we went on a date, and we fell in love, and we got married. It was very, very simple. Today, man, you practically need a committee to figure out where you stand in a relationship. Are we texting and not talking? Are we texting and talking? Are we exclusive? Are we exclusive but not posting? Are we exclusive with a soft launch with a photo of our elbows next to each other in a coffee shop with a vague caption that says, thankful? If you're like my age and you don't know what I'm talking about, just thank God that you dated when it was easier, because it's very complicated. And then if you're a Christian, it gets even crazier. For example, if you're a Christian and you're praying with each other, do you pray side by side holding hands, or do you pray face to face holding hands? And if you do, how close do you get together without it being tempting? Do you leave room for the Holy Spirit? How do you pray together? And how long can you pray before you're actually too close, praying too long? It goes from spiritual to physical. And if you're attracted to each other, like I am attracted to Amy and was attracted to Amy, and if you're really, really, really attracted, is that like a Song of Solomon, God blesses an attraction? Or is it like a flee from sexual temptation attraction? How do we even know, right? And so the bottom line is dating can be very complicated. How many of you agree? If we let culture define how we date and how we relate and how we actually marry and get along, it can be very, very confusing.
Okay, so
the good news is, I want to tell you today.
Before he keeps going, I'm going to kind of script. I'm going to get to some other points. And again, like I tell you every Friday, I strongly recommend you go listen to the whole 35 minutes yourself. But what needs to be said, and what needs to be understood in terms of what he just said, is neither one of these things are wrong or right. All right, neither one of these things, whether you want to post or whether you don't want to post, whether you want to be exclusive or you're not, the way in which you meet someone, there's no right or wrong way to meet someone. It's all about what you have in your heart when you meet this person and what exactly your values are. So, when it comes to me, and I say like, comes to me and my girl, I guess I could still call the relationship I'm in now sort of new compared to people that have been married for like 40 years or whatever. But I haven't posted any pictures of her and I yet, because again, this was something that we discussed, and I'm kind of the one that's publicly out there, constantly putting myself out, constantly putting information about myself out there, and she barely posts anything. So, I had the respect for her to say, hey, is this something that you're okay with? And she never said yes or no. It was just a matter of, hey, you're the one, it's based on how you feel. And that's where you got to understand that response was her understanding, hey, Aswan is his own man. Aswan has his own life. Aswan has his own thing that he is passionate in doing. And if he feels like I fit into that based on a post, then do it. So much of it is about who can understand you and who can relate to what you're about. And do you respect the other person to not put them in compromising situations? And I'm saying that only because I've seen situations, I've seen other people who will decide to post something with their significant other, knowing that it's not official yet, knowing that it is not something that they want to be, that they plan on doing in the long term, knowing that, hey, they're just going to post it just so they can get laid that night. And then, once they get laid that night, they'll just kind of figure it out after that. But it's important now that you know what the person's values are, what the person's all about, because he's 1000% right. A lot of things can get misguided. A lot of things can be miscommunicated. A lot of things can get seen or again get posted that will throw off a specific person or throw off certain situations. And a lot of people that'll post something that isn't necessarily the truth. All right. It's not necessarily the truth. It's not necessarily how a situation really is. In fact, I remember being in a situation like that where I tell people all the time, I was the guy that a girl cheated on her boyfriend with. Now, this was before I used social media. This was before I even knew how to use Instagram or anything like that. And what happened was I had found her account because, again, I had known her for a couple of months at that point. And we had hooked up and all that and did whatever and all that. But I didn't know that the boyfriend was posting so many pictures of her online. So if I had known that, I would have been again, I've been cheated on before. I'm a guy that has some integrity. I actually know bro code and stuff like that. There's certain things that are off limits. If a man's going to be committing to his woman on social media and put her out there like that, you as a man, you don't really get to hook up with that person, because that guy that breaks all sorts of bro codes, man. It really does. You can't, if the man is willing to put his woman on social media like that and about it, you can't do that. That's certain things crossing the line, that because that man put his woman out there and he did his thing and he made the commitment. You're doing some stuff on the low key. You don't get to necessarily be that guy that is breaking those kinds of bro codes. And at least me personally, just speaking on myself, I'm not the kind of guy that would break those bro codes. But again, I didn't know how serious it was. So I ended up being in that situation. This is why when he's mentioning, how you go about dating and what it looks like and how it looks like. And, when I caught the girl, when it came to that situation, she tried to tell me, we're on and off. It was not that serious. And he posts up, but I don't really like, all the sorts of BS that just sounded like a bunch of BS, because again, this girl would always tell me, oh, I'm such a straight up person. I'm just, all that kind of nonsense. Again, stuff that would take me a little too long to explain. I keep these faith-based Fridays at 30 minutes, but that's kind of just a snapshot in terms of what values do you have, how confusing it can be when you get so caught up in cultural norms, and when you get so caught up in trying to prove a point, create some happy picture on social media, or pretend like something is serious when it's really not that serious. These are things that start to catch up to you if you're not being authentically yourself, if you're not truly actually being yourself and have a genuine interest in getting better. I just last night I was on the phone with my girl, and she is telling me that, the fact that months before I met her, literally months before I met her, I cut alcohol off. I stopped drinking. I made the commitment to start going to church regularly. These are things that I was putting work in before I met her. She just happened to meet the person, the Aswan, the side of Aswan that decided for himself he was going to stop talking about wanting to do things and say, look, I'm going to put actions to it and say, again, the alcohol is off the table. I'm going to start going back to church. I'll pay my time. I'm going to start doing things that show God, look, I appreciate the blessings that you bestowed on me. And then these people, that's the side of me that I would have wanted, whether it's her or anyone, anybody, regardless of a romantic relationship, that's a side of you that you want being seen regularly, and you get to make those decisions. See, that's the issue with a lot of these love stories and a lot of these dating situations. You're so gosh darn concerned with the way somebody else is looking at you, and you're not paying attention. You're not making the effort to say, how do I look at myself? The person I'm looking at the mirror, person that I look at in the mirror, am I pleased with that person? Am I pleased with the person that I'm seeing a reflection of? Am I doing the things that make me proud of me? If I'm not, then I can't expect someone else to. All right. That's what we got to get a hold of. And as he gets into his message, this part of it where he starts talking about when you marry the wrong person, this is going to hit somebody. I'm just fair warning now. I'm just putting a warning out there. He's going to hurt somebody. He's going to hurt somebody when he starts talking about the fact that you don't want to marry the wrong person. This is key. This is the key. This is why this whole conversation can get so it gets really, really crazy, because there's casual dating. There's this casual dating. There's this cultural norm where we've accepted casual dating. All right. But when you marry the wrong person, it's not going to be so fun. It's not going to be a life that you like. It's not going to be a situation that you enjoy. I'll let him go.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go back a little bit.
And you're going, the clock's still ticking to get a wife for my son, Isaac. So Abraham's probably 140 years old. Isaac, his son, is around 40 years old, and he's not married yet. So if you're like 28 and you're going, the clock's still ticking, he was way older than that. And you can only imagine he's perhaps going like, okay, God, when am I going to get married? When are you going to bring the right person to me? And if you feel that way today, I understand it is not easy, but I want to tell you very, very clearly that it's better to wait for the right one than to marry the wrong one. It's way, way, way better to have high standards and to wait. And there are about 12 people clapping here that may be able to testify, and you don't want to hear their story because they're going to tell you right now, listen to me, I'm praying that you don't want to marry the wrong one. And so Abram tells his servant, hey, what I want you to do is put your hand under my thigh. And that's kind of weird. Why are we doing that in this business deal? This actually was not an unusual way of making a covenant. And I don't even know how to say this. Can we all be adults for a minute? Let's all be adults. And basically what happened is you're putting your hands near the reproductive parts. They're saying we're actually thinking about generations to come. We're making a legacy covenant promise. We're thinking about generations to come, and I'm making this promise based on propelling our faith into the future that you're not going to get a wife from the Canaanites, but you're going to go to my people. Now you say, okay, is he discriminating? This wasn't about ethnicity. This was about a shared faith. He's saying, go to the place where people worship Yahweh, the God that we worship, so that we can be unified in our faith in worshiping and serving God together. Which raises the question. Some of you may say, well, if I'm a Christian, do I have to marry a Christian? If I'm a Christian, do I have to marry a Christian? And the answer is, no, you actually don't. You don't. In the same way, you don't have to wear a parachute if you jump out of a plane. But you would be wise to do so. Like, do you have to marry a Christian? You don't have to, but it's not the best plan. And you may say, but Craig, you're being judgmental. I mean, there are a lot of non-Christian people that are great people. Yes, there are. There are non-Christian people that are great people. But the problem is, if your foundation is different, if you're going in different directions, it's really, really, really hard to have a God-honoring life when one person doesn't honor God.
All right. So very glad he made that connection. All right. It's not about being judgmental towards another person. It isn't. All right. There's a lot of great people that won't necessarily call themselves Christians. And in fact, I was just having this conversation yesterday about religion and how religion can cause problems because it causes you to judge a person based on what somebody else's standards are. However, you can replace the word Christian with values. You can replace the word Christian with how well does what does this person actually want out of their life? How is this person aligning with the things that I value in life? All right. This is the input. Those are the important questions that you have to ask. Those are the things that you have to align with. And if you don't align with those things, and he's going to talk about that again, if you listen to the whole thing, he's going to talk about the understanding of recognizing patterns in a person. All right. Not potential, but patterns, recognizing the patterns in a person and how they operate over an extended period of time and how they're constantly I one big thing for me when it comes to just being what I can't be around, what turns me off is when there's a pattern, when a person is constantly, every single time something comes up, it's somebody else's fault. They're always deflecting. They're always, blaming somebody else or looking for somebody else to blame for some mistake or some situation that they have made. Never an ounce of self-accountability. This is why the previous girl that I was just referring to, and there's multiple people that I have actually blocked, and I've actually gone away and moved and decided I don't want to be a part of, because I don't want in my life at all. Their season ended was because the primary reason was because there was never any ever accountability in terms of what they're about, what they do, and why they're in the situation they're in. It's always about somebody else. See, me, I'm always the one willing to say, hey, as one did something wrong, let me figure out a way to improve it. And what I've learned is that folks take advantage of that. They can easily take advantage of that because I'm already predetermined wanting to develop in self. I'm already so knee deep into self-development that the person who doesn't hold themselves accountable is always taking advantage of that. Always. And that's a dangerous spot to be, because I never go out seeking credit from somebody else. I never go and do the work I do and look to get some sort of pat on the back and say, hey man, you're doing a good job. Or I never go out seeking these things. Not that I would dissuade her, or not that I wouldn't want it or anything like that, but it's not going to stop me from doing the work I do. The issue I have is when people who don't do it, who have a pattern of never holding themselves accountable. And this is probably true for anybody that is running a business, and the folks that I work with, the folks who are never used to holding themselves accountable and always used to blaming somebody else for their problems, they take advantage of that person who's willing to constantly get better, who's willing to take all the shots, take all the, okay, you did this wrong, who's willing to do these things. Those folks take advantage of them. And that's what we're going to actually be talking about a lot next week when I talk about Black fatigue. But I do want to get to the part where he talks about, I think it's 15. Let me look at it real quick. Yeah, where he talks about when he met his wife and what the values were. His wife name is Amy, and what he was. And one of the things about that I love about Pastor Craig Groeschel is he never shies away from talking to you about the way he used to live his life and how he really was. And I'm going to let it play, and we'll probably end off that story. It's just in terms of how he met his wife, where he was before he met his wife, and when he made the decision to stop living the life he was living. And that was it was a 2-year process in which he made the decision not to live the life that he was living before. And then she became someone that was valuable to him. They became more valuable. So I'm gonna let that play.
Party. Nobody here was sober. You say, where are you, Craig? I am the guy in the back. For some reason, there are 2 hands on my head. I do not know whose hands those were. When I became a Christian, I had never seen how to date or pursue marriage in a way that was God honoring. And so I'm a brand new Christian, and I want to honor God, and I genuinely want one day to have a marriage that truly is God honoring, and I didn't know how to do it. So what do you think I did? Here's what I didn't do. I didn't go start dating. What I did is I actually stopped dating. And for 2 years, 2 long years, on most Saturday nights, I would stay at my place and I would listen to something called cassette tapes. You can look it up, Google it, it's a thing. And I would listen to cassette tapes on Christian marriages, how to have a God-honoring marriage. And I would read books on how to have a God-honoring marriage and how to be a man of God and how to treat someone. And then I would drink near beer because I was trying to get off of drinking real beer. So drink near beer and prayer and all this stuff. It worked, that's the best I could do. And I wrote notes to the one who would be my future wife. So I had this whole shoebox full of love notes. God, I'm praying for you today, God, but I list all these kind of things. And for 2 years, that's what I did. Until one day, someone started making fun of me and making fun of Amy, saying, you're weird, she's weird, you guys should find each other. Okay, we'll do that. And that's how I ended up meeting her. That was my story. It was that it wasn't seeking, I'm out looking for a spouse, I'm seeking God, so you will do in me what you need to do in me. Amen. And so I would say, not in a formula way, but in a spiritual way, God, I want your will. God, I want to seek you. Before you pursue, you actually pray. And we're going to see the servant do this when he prayed, Lord, God of my master Abraham, make me successful today and show kindness to my master Abraham. God, direct my steps so that I can honor you in what I do. Now, notice what the servant didn't ask God to do. Hey, bless whoever I pick.
Yep.
Bless the one that's the best looking. No, what he's saying is make the direction clear.
Yeah.
And so I would just say to you, don't ask God to bless a relationship that you know doesn't honor God. And it's really, really common to rationalize who you're going out with. Well, is he a Christian? Well, I don't know. I mean, his parents go to church and he actually has a cross necklace that he never wears. So maybe he is, and if you know you're dating someone who's not a Christian and you are moving in with someone and you know you shouldn't move in and you know they're distracting you from God, don't ask God to bless a relationship that's not honoring God. You start with his standards, you pray before you pursue, and you let God direct your steps. Don't play with fire.
Yes.
We're going to start with God's standards. We're going to pray before we pursue. And then what are we going to do? We're going to pay attention to patterns, not just potential. When you are getting to know someone, don't just say, well, he's got such great potential, even though he's still unemployed and no one likes him. And he lives at home and his mom doesn't even like him. But he's got potential. Don't try to talk yourself into something. Look for patterns, not just potential.
All right, that's a good. That I had spoken on that a little bit, but let me scrub through it real quick, and I'll let it play in terms of how he met when he went on his first date with his now wife, and what the situation was, and why it's so important for you to continue to do the work that honors God, because the right people eventually notice.
And again, I'll tell you a story about what I saw in Amy early on. Again, the way I met her was a girl was making fun of me. You're weird, you're overboard for God. And she had just heard about Amy. Amy was at another school. She'd never met Amy. She said, I heard about her. She's weird like you. She's overboard for God. You guys would be perfect for each other. So I called Amy, never met her, never seen her. And I'm talking to her on the phone like, hey, I heard you're overboard for God. So am I. Are you overboard for God? She says, yes, I am. It's great. So hey, why don't we get together and meet next Tuesday night? And she said, I forgot. I serve at a junior high girls life group on Tuesday night. I can't. Okay. How about we get together on Wednesday night? She goes, I forgot. I have church on Wednesday night. And so how about Thursday night? She goes, I'm getting together with a friend who needs prayer. We're going to have dinner and pray together on Thursday. I said, I'm getting a little bit worried right now. How about Friday night? And she said, yeah, I've got young adults at my church on Friday night. So, okay, I'm getting it. All you have to do is tell me 4 times you're busy, and I get it. And then she said, how about you come to my Bible study on Tuesday night?
That part.
And I said, how about we do that? And we see Jesus together on Tuesday night. And
all right, man, we'll cut it off there. I wanted you guys to hear that part directly from him, because the word dating and the way this whole thing works, the way we have the ability to get in touch with whoever we want, we have the ability to put our personality out online, or we have the ability to use an app and meet this one, meet that one. These connections that we have now, it makes it that much more important. It makes it that much more doable and important that you are very intentional with how you spend your time, who you spend your time with, and the things that you guys enjoy doing for fun. So, a situation like this, they both love God, and they're both going to go and do a cool a Bible study together. Me, a person that loves sports. Hey, we go out to a soccer game. One of the things that me and my girl did, we went to a female soccer game. I love watching live bands play and stuff like that. So that's what we did. So it's very important that the values are there, and only you can answer it yourself. So, again, make sure you tune in to the message fully on your own. It's definitely a powerful message, as it always is. As business owners, if you are interested and you would like more help in regards to creating this cohesive staff, to creating things that are going to lead to less turnover in your business, so go to freeguy.makeitmove.com. Put your information in, and you'll get the free guide in terms of how to do that. And then also get in touch with me so we can talk more about how I can come and help your business, help implement a system that's going to lead to all of that stuff. Main website again is makeitmove.com. It's MAKEYAMOVE.com. Check that out. All that being said, you guys continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.